the entire DPI story is like a story of digital transformation for India, and DigiLocker as a DPI was part of the bouquet of the services that Ministry of Electronics and IT was working along with the other stakeholders in order to ensure more efficient public services to citizens, in order to ensure reduce the hardship that people face, in order to reduce the dependence on paper for most documents and certificates that people need, and in order to ensure that documents can be easily accessed and verified by whosoever we need it. I of course happened to get into this role because of my assignment. I am a civil servant. The government posted me as the head of National E-Governance Division, Digital India Corporation, which was at the forefront of implementing this project. And this was of course probably based on my earlier experience, also having worked in this ministry in 2009 to 12 as a deputy secretary and director for e-governance. See, like one of the most difficult things that people find, especially when they are accessing public services, is number one, to prove who they are, to prove where they stay. So, if suppose you are wanting admission for a child in a school in nursery, the school will immediately want you for a birth certificate. Birth certificate is issued by a public authority. So, you go there, you either queue up in that office or you fill up an online form, get the birth certificate, either a paper certificate or a PDF certificate. Then for the school admission portal, you go to the education ministry or the private school, public school, whichever website. Then you apply, even if you are applying online, you have to upload a PDF also. So, effectively what is happening is the citizen, both the two services, like issuance of a certificate and the need for accessing a certificate, both are required by a government entity or an authority. But in effect, rather than the two systems talking to each other, we are reducing the citizen to act as a courier between the two systems to apply, get a certificate from one authority and go and submit to another authority. And this whole reliance of documents, and then very often most public authorities would want to submit documents in triplicate, sometimes they will want it to be attested by a gazetted officer. So, ultimately the citizen spends a lot of time and energy in moving from one office to the other office, collecting all kinds of documents, getting it attested, verified, submitted, and even if a document is attested, the department or the office which is accepting it does not even know that it is attested by a genuine officer or something. So, a lot of forgery, lot of fake documents will start coming in. So, it was felt that if we have to enable ease of living for citizens and ease of doing business for businesses, we will have to solve this problem. How do we ensure that documents are issued electronically, documents are issued are accessed electronically, and any third party who wants to verify a document, can they verify electronically. So, this was the premise on which the DigiLocker was built, and the architecture is very simple. The issuer gives their APIs to DigiLocker, so that DigiLocker can access the documents, and any verifier, when they want to verify a document whether what he is submitting is correct or not, then he makes a query, consent is given by the owner of the document, and then the access is provided for a API based verification of documents. So, whether it is academic documents, whether driving licenses, whether it is Aadhaar document, whether income tax papers or health records, all have become part of this entire ecosystem which enables paperless governance and which enables electronic authentication, verification of documents by all stakeholders. It results in benefit to the citizens, it results in benefit for the issuers, they do not need to print paper documents, and most importantly it results in benefit for the end users who want to verify, who want to authenticate any document that has been issued through this system. The most important component when it was designed and it was architected was, number one, there was no intent or there is no feature for storing documents centrally. It was built on a federated architecture approach, wherein documents will ultimately reside on the issuer of the document. So, for example, if CBSE is issuing class 10th and class 12th certificates, it is accessible on DigiLocker, but this does not mean that all the certificates are coming to a central database or central data center or central repository. The certificates do not come there. We only get access through APIs of the documents, and we pull it and make it available to the user of the document. Similarly, for driving licenses, similarly for Aadhaar, similarly for PAN card, similarly for all records which are part of that. And similarly, when verification happens, the consent framework for DigiLocker was notified by MeitY way back in 2015, and based on that, any verifier, anyone who wants to verify the document can kind of access it through APIs and do the verification. So, actual document is not flowing into a central repository or going to a verifier, only the verification is happening electronically, which ensures in a very secure, very simple design. And the second part what has happened is that like over and above, like as we moved forward, very often people wanted like kind of an offline verification also. Like, so what we did was that we introduced a QR code in each document. So, QR code can be scanned by the QR code scanner on the DigiLocker app, and the authenticity of the document is proved. So, for example, when you are going to the airport and you do not have your paper ID document, and the CISF person at the airport wants you to show your ID, then you can show your DigiLocker ID on the DigiLocker app. But that also he can also scan the QR code and verify it from the server. So, that way the design was made to ensure that it results in ease of use by the users, ease of verification, and it works that way. And the third thing that DigiLocker also did was that it exposed the APIs, the verification APIs to various users. So, for the entire ecosystem of users, what we call as the DigiLocker partners, there are fintech companies, there are mutual fund companies who are kind of doing their KYC by using the DigiLocker credentials. So, when they have to onboard users and they want to verify the identity of a user, they do it through the DigiLocker APIs. So, that results in their cost, the cost of KYC coming down, the ease of onboarding users is there, and the numbers go up. For example, Zerodha CEO has been on record, Mr. Nitin Kamath, saying that how earlier it used to take a lot of time to acquire a customer, a cost and the time taken, and very often if you have to open a demat account, you would require to sign maybe 40 places you have to sign on paper documents. But with DigiLocker, the KYC thing became very easy. You could do a Aadhaar based KYC through the DigiLocker, and then onboarding of users became easy. The cost of acquiring a customer came down drastically. The time taken to onboard a user came down drastically and resulted in a lot of benefits. In fact, most of the fintech unicorns today, of course, they are providing a lot of services also, but part of the reason for they becoming unicorns and they acquiring more users and they providing these services also is because of the ease of adding customers that happen through the DigiLocker APIs. Similarly, there have been other uses. For example, everyone would have used DigiYatra. That also works on a very simple DigiLocker based API verification that happens. So, the simple design and architecture ensured that it was easy for people to use, and it was also easy for application developers to integrate DigiLocker APIs in their system and design. And that is why, even though it may appear that it is not very popular as like UPI, but UPI today has maybe around 300 million users and DigiLocker has 280 million users. So, we are not too far behind. Yes, that's the beauty of the verifiable credentials. What happens is that most people are not very literate, they will not be able to decipher, and you need documents in various languages and all. But QR code is something which cannot be fudged. QR code is something wherein it pulls the information directly from the server. So, when we did the COVID vaccination certificates, there also the verifiable credentials approach was used, and it was done on a standard which is becoming a global standard for the verifiable credentials. So, if I have my certificates, if I have the QR code on my certificate, it could be verified by any entity, whether in India or anywhere in the world. So, that is what is now going to come in the academic documents also. So, it does not matter whether you are an urban citizen or a rural citizen, a student from a village or a student from a public school in a city, all of you will get the same academic credentials, the same QR code with a similar QR code, which can be scanned by the DigiLocker scanner and verified. And now with the academic bank of credits and APAR ID coming in, wherein all academic credentials, even your semester mark sheets of colleges, universities becoming a part of the National Academic Depository on the DigiLocker, these documents can be verified by universities and by employers to give you jobs. So, all the time that was taken earlier for verifying your credentials, verifying your transcripts, that is going to reduce a lot. And what I feel is that going forward, this will become the universal global standard, and other countries would also like to build something like this. Already there have been talk of Apple decided to introduce Apple Wallet in California and became big news, and they were wanting to introduce driving licenses on that, when we had been doing this for the last 6 years or so. So, other countries also looking at it. There is a lot of advantages to that. It is climate friendly because you reduce paper, and it also results in a lot of benefits to users, to stakeholders, to authenticators, to everyone. multiple challenges, because to convince partners to join the DigiLocker ecosystem had been a huge challenge. Per se the technology is very simple, APIs are used in almost every application today. So, the simple technology is very simple, but the effort required to onboard users and the effort required to get ministries and departments issue orders and notifications saying that DigiLocker documents are as authentic as paper based documents. That was a major effort. So, like we started with that. For identity, it became like banking. RBI issued guidelines which said that KYC documents coming from DigiLocker can be used for opening bank accounts. The CB also came up with that it could be used for opening demat accounts. Railways came with an order which they say that these documents can be used for verifying people to travel in trains. The Ministry of Road Transport Highways said that a driving license on a DigiLocker is as authentic as a paper driving license, and then a host of institutions have issued such orders which has made DigiLocker get legal sanctity. And then the effort that the team does, our team which works on that, one part is the technology team and one part is the partnerships team. So, the partnerships team works with various boards, like for example, school boards, like there are 28 to 29 school boards across the country. To convince each one of them to bring their certificates on this was a huge effort. Then once they saw the value in that, they became onboarded. So, for the universities, for example, when we are building the academic bank of credits and the APAR IDs, so we are working with all the 1000+ universities across the country to get them to get onboarded on them, to get them to give their APIs here, to get them to agree to issue their certificates, mark sheets through this. It had been a huge effort. In fact, some universities thought that they will, because very often when they give the copies of degrees or when they give transcripts, they charge money for that. So, they started feeling that they will lose a revenue stream. Then we had to convince that the benefits will far outweigh what you will lose, and Department of Higher Education also chipped in and said that like once you get onboarded, whatever revenue loss you will have in giving paper certificates, we will compensate you. Similarly, in National Health Authority, when they are building the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, when the health records, the electronic health records came in, they have said that there can be several health lockers wherein electronic health records can be stored, but DigiLocker was their first port of call. And today I think DigiLocker is the only robust health locker that is existing in the ABDM ecosystem, wherein electronic health records, your blood reports, your X-ray reports, your MRI reports, your CT scan reports, all can be stored on the DigiLocker in an electronic format. And if you want to take a second opinion from some doctor and want to share those documents, you can digitally share with documents of any hospital with any hospital. So, that is again something that is very kind of transformational, and bringing all these partners and onboarding them and getting government orders issued with regard to the legal sanctity of the whole document, the DigiLocker ecosystem has been, I would say, maybe the more important part in rather than just building the technology a part of it. Globally, more and more countries are planning to adopt, and one use case that I feel and I hope will be done is that the entire passport visa system can get integrated on a DigiLocker kind of system. Because like every country, when you are giving a visa to a visitor from some other country, the one thing that you want to verify is that he has a genuine passport and you know the identity of that. So, if the entire passport visa ecosystem globally starts following common standards and all countries start using that, then if it comes on a DigiLocker ecosystem, then it has great value. And if it is integrated with the VFS and the BLI systems which issue the passports, the visas, then you maybe when you are applying for a visa, you will not need to physically give your passports in an embassy. So, that kind of thing will be very transformational. Similarly, academic certificates. Academic certificates are something which everybody needs. There is a lot of mobility in the education space. People go from India to study in the United States, people go from all parts of countries to study all over the world. So, everywhere you need to verify the transcripts. So, if it becomes like a global standard, verification of academic credentials across the world will become very easy. Similarly, for employment, people have the work experience, educational qualifications, that becomes the basis for applying for a job. So, if your academic credentials or if your work experience is verified digitally, then getting these jobs will become very easy. Then the entire space of business, for example, smart contracts, for example, agreements, documents, various kinds of MOUs, agreements that people share. If all of it becomes part of this ecosystem, verifying them, authenticating them becomes very, very easy. And further, the work that we are doing along with CBSE and the educational ecosystem, along with the DigiLocker team, is bringing all these certificates on a blockchain based architecture, so that the authenticity of the document with regard to it being tamper proof, it being authentic, is also further ensured. So, all this I feel that in the next 3 to 5 years, this will evolve greatly. The system will become much more secure than what it is now. System will become much more replicable. There are already several countries who have shown interest in replicating a DigiLocker kind of system in their own countries, including countries like the United Kingdom. And I will feel that once this becomes more ubiquitous, once countries start using it for their own domestic needs to begin with, the next step will be to build up a document cloud across the world, and all documents which are required for for travel, international travel, that will also become part of this ecosystem, and will result in a lot of benefit for the economy of the world, for businesses to do their transactions seamlessly without the need of any paper. That is why DigiLocker follows the best of the security standards. I believe it is ISO 27001 to which it conforms. And even though we are not storing data of citizens as issued from the publishers at a central repository, still the API based transactions are happening. So, data does travel when the API based access is done. So, that is also done in an encrypted format, that is done in a fully secure format, so that if there is an attack, or if there is somebody who is trying to kind of meddle into the APIs and trying to steal data from that, that is also prevented. So, that kind of system, that kind of architecture, that kind of security design has been built in, which ensures that all the data that remains on the DigiLocker ecosystem is 100% secure without any issue. Regular audits are done, regular security checks are done in order to ensure that there are no patches which are left behind. Sometimes our own teams subject to try to do a hackathon or try to do a cyber storm in order to say that what if some attack happens, what if something goes wrong, how do we ensure that we are secure. So, all those things are part of our regular business practice, which to keep the DigiLocker data and information fully secure. There is another aspect to DigiLocker, that apart from the data, that information that is issued by issuers, the authentic document, DigiLocker also provides 1 GB of space to all users, wherein one can store my personal documents also. So, there also a lot of security is ensured, that if I am keeping my personal documents under the DigiLocker, those cannot of course be verified, because they are my own personal documents that I am uploading, but still it kind of allows you a document wallet, so that I can carry my personal document like a drive anywhere. But there also 100% security is ensured, that that data that I also upload is kept very secure, and is like any attack that happens can be resisted or can be checked, and can be ensured that 100% security and privacy of data is ensured. See, something similar would not be needed. What we need to do is that the startups and all, we have almost 2000 partners who are there, who are building applications on top of DigiLocker, because what DigiLocker has brought is like all important documents about a citizen's life cycle available on one space. So, there is a lot of value in building applications in the financial space, in the health space, on top of DigiLocker. And last year, in fact, the entity locker also been introduced, wherein not only users but companies, organizations, trusts, not for profits also can open a DigiLocker, wherein they can keep their documents relating to their tax returns, relating to their company filings, all on the DigiLocker ecosystem. The businesses also have a lot to gain. So, I would say that any startup or any business who is trying to build a public service, they can easily access the DigiLocker APIs, use it for their KYC, use it for verifying information on that which is available on the DigiLocker ecosystem, build applications on top of it, offer value added services, and they will create a lot of value with this. There are a lot of countries who are looking at it. Sri Lanka is looking at it, Mauritius is looking at it, United Kingdom is looking at it, the United States have had a look at it. So, we are sharing them the experience that we have had, both from a technology point of view and both on the effort that has been required to build the ecosystem around DigiLocker. So, that is what we engage as part of the DPI diplomacy that is going on. The global DPI repository, DigiLocker is an important component of the global DPI repository, and we have signed MOUs also with 9 countries. So, it is a work in progress, wherein the insights with regard to building a system like DigiLocker is being shared with the international community for those who want to learn, replicate and build something similar to DigiLocker.